Welcome to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? I'm your host, Karen E. Osborne, and I hope this is not the first time you've been with us, but if it is, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am the author of Getting It Right, Tangled Lies, Reckonings, all women's contemporary suspense novels, and I have a new historical novel coming out, historical suspense, coming out in September. And my guest today is an intriguing woman. Intriguing. You are going to be intrigued. So her name is Karla Huebner. Huebner, right?
Yes.
And she is an arts historian. She's a college professor, and she is a writer. And she's written a book called Too Early to Know Who's Winning, who she's going to tell us all about. Welcome, welcome, Karla.
Well, thank you so much. It's really a delight to be, here on your show. Yeah, it's called Too Early to Know Who's Winning. It's coming out March 23rd. And in very brief, I could say that it is a novel about liberal women approaching retirement during the Trump presidency and climate crisis. Jacobine and her increasingly unrealistic friend Cinda have kind of one of those tricky friendships that people often have, that you care about each other, you do things together, and at the same time, you sometimes drive each other crazy.
Yes.
And so that's one of the topics of the book, but it's especially about how Jacobine is dealing with the fact that, not just that her candidate didn't win, because I mean we have that all the time, but the feelings of alarm and fear of what was going to happen next that happened for many of us that did not vote for President Trump, and feeling like not only was there a lot of disturbing news going on, whether it was political or ecological, environmental reporting, global news. It just seemed like between, late 2016 and into 2019, when I was writing the novel, and that's the period that I set the novel in, that if you were paying attention to the news, there was always something terrible going on.
Lots of angst.
Yes.
Lots of angst. So, as you were, like, what inspired this? Why did you decide? And you have this environmental kind of theme going through it. What inspired this book?
Well, basically that kind of feeling that, I personally was getting close to 60, and so having some of those, 60-ish angsts that, people often experience, whether or not they're in a difficult political and ecological period. I was feeling like there was just a lot that I kind of needed to purge myself of. I had just finished writing a novel that I'd been working on for quite a long time, and I was really happy about having finished that, but I was also feeling like, ooh, there's my health, there's the political stuff, there's the ecological stuff. People around me that I've known for years are dying off. And so I really wrote it as kind of getting things out of my system. And I will say that I felt a lot better after I was done writing it.
So it worked.
Yes, it did.
So it worked for you. What do you want it to do for your reader? Like, what do you want your readers to, at the end of reading this book, what do you want them to take away or feel, or besides enjoying the read?
Well, I hope they do enjoy it. But that's a great question, because it is going to vary for different readers. I think for liberal readers, I hope a sense of, oh, I get that, that's, this author understands some of what I experienced, had similar feelings. But for more conservative readers, I hope maybe some understanding of what it felt like for some of the rest of us who voted differently, that we aren't alien beings, but we have a lot of the same concerns and problems, like tricky friendships and health worries and losing loved ones. And so, in other words, I think that readers over 50 can relate to many of the themes, whatever their politics. And I also think that younger readers can too, because a lot of those themes are significant for adults of any age.
Yeah, yeah. And the environmental piece, you mention it, but then when I was reading the description of the book, that part doesn't really come through. What's the environmental angle in this novel?
Well, I wouldn't say that the environmental aspect is huge, but it
Mm,
is something where Jacobine, the protagonist, it's something that she's constantly worrying about. She sees in the news things about um, environmental things that could happen at any time, but that we don't know whether they're going to happen, species going extinct, whether there's going to be a huge methane burp that's going to asphyxiate large parts of the population, those kind of things. It's not
mm.
real direct for her, but it's something that she's concerned
Kind of
about.
there that she's concerned about, and young people are concerned about. Your young readers can really adjust to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, um, so well, one of the things that I've struggled with is research. I
Hmm.
just like to make stuff up. That's that's what I like to do. I don't want to actually stick to the facts or find out what's really happening. Did you have to do a lot of research for this, or did you just live enough through the experience that you didn't have to?
Well, it's a mix of both. I mean, on the one hand, I enjoy research, otherwise I would never have finished a PhD. Um,
Good
but
point.
but for this particular novel, on the one hand, a lot of it was very fresh in my mind, because I was writing it in the fall of 2019. But also, I would say that during the period that the novel covers, I had been writing an unusual number, at least unusual for me, of notes about what was, my reactions to what was going on, like, oh, are we going to be attacked by North Korea? Or,
Mm, mm.
oh, this happened, or, oh, things, there was an explosion in the Moscow subway, or, whatever. And so I looked at a lot of the notes that I had about kind of daily life, or things like, I went, about my going to the doctor or whatever. I mean, Jacobine is not me, but I used, things,
Your own experiences, yeah.
exactly. And so then I also, as I was reminded by some of those things, then because I'm a real pack rat in terms of email, although I had been deleting a lot of email, um, I still had a lot of, like emails from nonprofits, emails for my online newspaper subscriptions. And I could, go through those and like, okay, when exactly did this happen? Or let me get more
Ah,
information on this, or that kind of thing.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. So you're an art historian, you're a novelist, you're a researcher. What kinds of books do you like to read?
Oh, I like to read a lot of different kinds of things. Um, I would probably read something in almost any genre, but I read a lot of mysteries. I mean, that's something that I've read since I would say, like second or third grade when I discovered them. I don't read as much fantasy, but I really love some of the classic fantasy authors like C.S. Lewis. I like the Harry Potter books. I've really been enjoying reading Ben Aronovich's Rivers of London series, but maybe most influential for my own writing, I tend to read a lot of European and Latin American literary fiction.
Hmm. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So, is there something you could specifically recommend to our audience that you'd like them to, besides your books, which they should all go look and pick up? Is there something else that you could recommend to the audience?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend. two books, one from each of my fiction publishers. So from Black Rose, and I don't have the actual book yet, but I have the cover of it on my phone. I'm currently reading, let's see if I get this on here.
If I lift it up a little.
Lift it up a little.
There you go.
There it goes. Okay, we'll get it closer. Oh, it looks
Yes.
like it's backwards. But anyway, Allie C. Hall's As Far as You Can Go Before You Have to Come Back, which tells of a young incest survivor's flight from home and her coming of age in the unexpected geography of Asia, mostly Japan. She gets involved with doing Tai Chi and so forth. And I found that I'm not done with it yet, but it's a compelling and unusual story that I think will strike a chord with a lot of readers. And it's brand new, comes out early in March. And I also recently read Michael Bourne's novel, Blythedale Canyon. And again, let's see if I can get this. Wait, that's my book. I
That's
picked
your
up the
wonderful
wrong
book.
book.
That's good. That's good that you showed us your book.
Well, that's true, but I just sort of, randomly reached to my side. Okay, this is Dale Canyon. So that's by Michael Bourne, came out in 2022 from Regal House, which published my first novel, In Search of the Magic Theater. And I'm going to quickly throw that.
Show us that one too. Yep.
Yeah. And so Blythedale Canyon is about a young man from the wealthy California town of Mill Valley, which incidentally is a place I lived in when I was young and poor. And the main character, Trent Wolfer, has just gotten out of prison and is trying to get clean and restart his life. And it's very believable. You root for the character while recognizing that he is weak and extremely fallible.
Yeah, we love flawed characters, don't we? Likable, relatable, flawed characters. Those are always the best ones to read about. And if our audience wanted to follow you, if they wanted to be in touch, they wanted to find out more, where can they find you?
Okay, they can find me several different places. My website is karlahuebner.com. My Facebook is Karla Huebner Writer. My Instagram is Karla Huebner Writes, and my Twitter is just Karla Huebner.
Okay. Well, I hope that you will follow Karla, that you will pay attention to where she is, that you'll try her books. You can try this one that we're talking about now, or you can try one of her other books. But we hope that you will do that, and please let her know that you learned about her on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Until next week, take care, everybody.